Hi guys, it's Amber from Amber Reads Books, and I'm here today to bring you my weekly reads video. This is the video where I discuss what I read last week, what I'm currently reading, and what I hope to read for the coming week. As you can see, we are in a slightly different filming location. My bookcases are here along this wall. Because of the blizzard that we are currently getting here in Connecticut, it is very, very dark in my house, and I just had to move in front of the slider door. Though the lighting over here is pretty good, so depending, we'll see. With the sun shining, if there was sun shining in, it'd probably be too bright right here on a normal day. But for cloudy days, I may start filming in front of this window because it actually looks pretty good. Anyway, yes, today we are getting a blizzard in Connecticut. Where I live in Connecticut, we actually haven't had too much snow all winter long. I think we only had like one snowfall where we got a foot of snow. Then we had a couple others, you know, with a few inches, up to 6 inches here or there, but it really has not been a lot of snow at all. So it was like Mother Nature just decided that, you know, spring is coming, it's only a few days away, let me just dump all the rest of the snow that I have on them right now. Where I live, we are slated to get between 24 and 30 inches. We will see if that actually happens, but yeah, it's gonna be kind of a mess. But I have the day off from work, which I'm thankful for, only because that allows me to get this film in, because yesterday, which is my usual filming day, it just did not happen. It was so crazy busy. I had extra things to do, things that just came out of nowhere, and I was, at the end of last night, I was just like, I am not filming. So I apologize that this is a day late, but at least I'm getting it done. I also wanted to thank you guys before I actually jump into these books, because you commented so many wonderful things on my reading slumps video, and I found myself this week actually motivated, and I actually did quite a bit of reading. So I really think that was because of all the comments you had and some of the tips that you gave me, and it just like eased my worry over the reading slumps. Like, I don't know why I was even really worried about it, but it kind of did. It just kind of made me relax. And actually, once I relaxed, I was like, oh, I can do more reading than I thought. So thank you so much for all those comments. I really, really enjoyed them. Anyway, let's jump into these books. The first book that I would like to talk about, I actually don't have with me. It is on my phone, which I'm filming on, because I got an Kindle copy, and that was Trapped by a fellow booktuber named Krystol. She had been kind of asking me to read her book for quite a while. I bought it right when it first came out, so I went ahead and I just read it this weekend. I wasn't really planning on reading it, but then at night I was just like, oh, I don't want to have my light on, but I still want to read, so I ended up reading it on my phone, and I really enjoyed it. It was a quick, fun read. She really put a lot of effort into it, and it showed, and I was just so happy to be able to support my fellow booktubers. So if you guys haven't checked it out, I will try to remember to leave a link down in the comments below. So I was able to accomplish 3 other books this week. I'm going to start with my lowest rank and work my way up to my highest. My lowest ranked book of the week, which is not a very low ranking at all, is The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. This is a YA historical fiction / fantasy novel. It is set in the year 1812. We follow our character Lady Helen, who has to deal with all that 1812 society has put upon her. She is a woman, she doesn't have very many rights, she is expected to present herself in a certain way. We know that her mother has some sort of scandal attached to her name, and it's kind of a mystery, kind of going through trying to figure out what happened to her, and there's all these supernatural elements that kind of come into play. It is just a really fun read. Someone described it, like I said in my last video, as Jane Austen meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it kind of is. It's not vampires, but there's other supernatural elements that I really enjoyed. What I think I liked the most about this book is that it was fun to see how this woman has to work within the constraints of society while also being like this badass person. Like, she has to just kind of say, forget everybody, forget their opinion, I'm gonna do me. And it's just really great to see. I thought this was a great first book in the series. I don't know how many more books there are going to be, but I know the sequel is already out, The Dark Days Pact, I believe it's called. So I'm really excited to get my hands on that one, though I've checked with my local library and they do not have it. So then I tried to order it from other libraries and it's not yet available because it is so new. So it may be a little while until I can actually get it to read, but I'm hoping I will love that one just as much as I love this one. So I saw this on Tina from the Never End Bookshelf. She recommended this. I will link her channel down below so you guys can see the review and everything. But I'm so glad that she recommended it because I really, really loved it and I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I did. The first sentence in this book is, in the sun-warmed quiet of her uncle's library, Lady Helen Rexhall spread the skirt of her muslin morning gown and sank into the deep curtsy required for royal presentation. Back held straight, head slightly bowed, left knee bent so low it nearly touched the floor. The next book that I read this week was a fantastic story, and that was My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Fredrik Backman. This is actually translated. I believe he's a Swedish author. I first saw this on Conan. No, I did not see this on Conan. I saw this on Connor O'Brien's channel. He had read this. I saw the review. He just raved about it. And since then, he's read, I think, pretty much everything that this author has put out and has loved each and every one. So I had high expectations going in, and I really wanted to love it. And I'm so glad that I did. This is the story of Elsa. She's 7 years old. Her best friend is her grandmother. Her grandmother lives life on her own terms. She's kind of a spitfire, doesn't live by the rules kind of a person. Elsa considers her her best friend in the entire world. And one day her grandmother passes away and leaves her a series of letters that are apologizing to people. So she has to deliver these letters and try to find out what her grandmother was sorry for. It is just so great. It is told in the third person, though it is basically from the perspective of Elsa, which Elsa being 7 years old, there was a few things that I didn't think a normal 7-year-old would do, but in this kind of fantastical story, it fit and it worked. So I really loved it. I can't wait to get to the other book that I actually took out from the library, which you'll see in a little bit of his, because it was just so fantastic. I read this pretty quickly. I think it only took me a day and a half, maybe 2 days to read it. And it's about 400 pages, so it's still quite large. I think 400 pages. Let me just double check that. I don't want to be telling you something wrong. Yeah, like 360, 370 pages. So I mean, it's still quite a good sized book, but I read it fairly quickly. So if you guys have not tried Fredrik Backman, please check him out because I absolutely cannot wait to get to more of his stories. The first line in this book is, every 7-year-old deserves a superhero. Now, the final book that I read this week was a book that has been very, very, very hyped on BookTube in general, and I was afraid to read it because I was afraid I wasn't going to like it, because a lot of YA books, especially that have been hyped, which this is a YA, don't always live up to my expectations or what the hype has actually said. So I was afraid to read it, but I had nothing to worry about because this was a 5-star read for me. It was fantastic, and that is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I just loved this book. I started reading it, and the first thing I noticed was the writing. It was so wonderful. It was just beautifully written. It was kind of melodic in the way that it hypnotized me. I don't know. I loved the writing itself. I will read anything else this author puts out because the writing style and I are like soulmates. So that was first of all. Second of all, the story was fantastic, and it was heartbreaking, and it was moving, and it made you think. Reading this as a mother going into it, I think gave me a slightly different perspective than maybe a young adult reading it who has not yet become a parent. So I could see dual sides to everything while reading this. This is the story of a family who just keeps making bad decisions all around, and I think it handled many of the topics very well. They are a mixed-race family. They talk about depression. They talk about basically not listening to each other or not communicating very well. Just everything about this book was really great. Some people said that they did not like how it ended, and for me, I really thought it ended beautifully. It just was the right note for me to end on. I don't know. Again, that's probably just a personal thing. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but for me, it was just perfect all the way through. Definitely so happy that I read it, so happy that I listened to recommendations on BookTube. And this is why whenever there's a really hyped book, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna read it, I'm not gonna read it. And sometimes, yes, they don't live up to the hype. They really don't, but sometimes they do. And that is why I will probably read every single hyped book eventually, because I want to find something like this. So far this year, I think this is my top book of the year. I've only had, I want to say, 2 other 5-star reads besides this. So we will see. I mean, it's still very early on in the year, but so far, for young adult anyway, this has been my top book. So if you guys have not read this, please, I'm recommending you to go out and read it, because it was really fantastic. The first line in this book is, Lydia is dead. So those were the books that I was able to read this week. So I was actually able to accomplish 4 books this week, which is unheard of in the last few weeks for me. And I thought I was in such a slump, and then this week came along and just right out of it. Trying to continue that trend and trying not to get into a slump, I picked up a smaller book for my currently reading book, and that is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doty. I've only read 1 chapter in this book so far, and I am hooked. It is fascinating. I am a person who is terrified of death, but I also have like this morbid fascination where I want to learn everything about it, every aspect of it. And this has to do with after we die, you know, someone who actually prepares bodies and cremates them. So far, absolutely loving it. I could tell it's going to be a very quick read. It's not very long. It is about 240 pages, and it reads very, very quickly. So today, during my snow day, I'm going to sit down with this, and I think I'll be able to probably finish it today, if not tomorrow morning. So those were all the books that I got to this week. I had such a good reading week. I'm so happy. Now on to the books that I plan to try to get to within the next week or 2. I have been going to my library, and I've been requesting books right and left. So reading books off my shelves, not happening for the next little while. But I'm really excited about all these books that I requested, so I think that will help my reading slump. I just really want to try them and read them because I've heard so much about many of them. So I will get to my books on my shelf eventually. It is still a goal of mine for this year, but let's see all the books I have out from the library. I got a couple new ones since last week. One that you've seen over and over again is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I definitely want to get to this one. Hopefully I will get to it this week at some time because I think it has to go back. It's one of the first ones due back. So this will probably be up a little higher on my TBR here. The next book I got was a book that I wasn't sure I was going to read. I was kind of hesitant about it because I'd heard a lot of negative things. But then I was tagged in a video to do Harry Potter and the Cursed Child book tag. So I decided to pick it up, give it a try so I can actually answer the questions, because a couple of the questions had to do with some of the things that happened in this story. So I figured just go ahead and do it. In regards to my tag videos, I'm getting to each of them eventually. I know people keep tagging me in videos, and I have them written down, or I have them stored in my phone, so I know that I have to get to them. It may just take me a little while, but bear with me. Eventually, I will get to your tag videos, because that is another goal of mine for this year, is to do every video that I'm actually tagged in to do. So it will get done. But yeah, this is one. So I'm kind of looking forward to it now, just because I do want to see what everyone else is talking about so I can form my own opinion. I am going into it with a little bit of hesitation, so hopefully it will pleasantly surprise me. We'll see. Another book I got out from the library is actually a sequel. This is the sequel to The Knife of Never Letting Go. This is The Ask and the Answer, book 2 in the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. I really enjoyed book 1. It was a lot of fun, and my daughter really enjoyed it, and she wanted to read the sequel. So I wasn't in a hurry to pick it up, but because she really wanted it, I went ahead and requested it from another library. So this will definitely get read in the next week or two. Then, another book that I'm excited for is my second Frederick Bachman book, A Man Called Uwe, I believe it is. I'll have to double check the pronunciation, but I think I saw in another video of someone that that's how you pronounce it. I will see, I'm not sure. But I've heard that this one is a really great book as well. I've just heard nothing but good things about all of his books, so I'm kind of trying to make my way through them now. So really excited to get to this. I don't know, this might be read this week just because I can't wait. Another book that I'm really excited to get to, but also know that it's going to take me a long time, so I'm probably going to put it off for another week at least, is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This is book 3 in the Farseer trilogy. I've heard a few people say that this was not their favorite book out of the trilogy, so I don't know, I'm a little hesitant, but someone else that I know and trust their opinion said that they really enjoyed it. She said even though it got a little slow sometimes, it picked up pretty quickly. So we will see. I've loved everything so far that I've read by Robin Hobb. I've finished the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which was actually the trilogy that was supposed to be after this one, but I started with it. And I've read the first 2 books in this trilogy, and I have so many more to go. I just want to work my way through Robin Hobb, I think, this year. Just as soon as I finish a book, I request the next one in order of publication. So I'm really excited to get to it, though, because I've really loved Fitz. He's just a great character. The story itself is a wonderful fantasy story that I just sink right into. So really excited to get to it. But as with all Robin Hobb books, this one is almost 700 pages. And her writing is very detailed. You cannot skip anything. So I know this will take me at least 5 or 6 days to get through. So we will see when I get to it, because I might not be in the mood this week. I want to try and keep my reading slump at bay. So I want to try and, just read quicker books this week. So those are all the books that I read, that I'm currently reading, and that I hope to read. I hope for the rest of today that I will just be able to sit down and kind of relax. I am going to put some soup into the crock pot and make sure that everything is done, because in case we lose power, it is very windy outside, and I heard that it might change over to sleet later on tonight at the tail end of the storm, which will just weigh on those wires. So I'm trying to get everything done that I kind of have to get done with electricity and showers and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to get that done this morning, so that way in case we lose power, I won't be, too bad off. But if you guys are in the storm, please just be careful. If you have to go out, do so carefully. Really just drive with caution. If you don't have to be out, don't go out, because it is horrendous. For the rest of you, I hope that you have a great regular day, whether that's working or you have it off, whatever you do. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week, and happy reading.